Hello, welcome to a new episode of Geek Lunch Meet. I'm your host Chris, as always, bringing you the latest news and reviews. Quite a lot of news and announcements this week, and then we'll take a look I'll give my thoughts on the Suicide Squad, which came out here in the UK last week. I think in the States, it opened yesterday. If you could like and subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic. Really help us out. First of all, to start off with some sad news. The passing this week of J.W. Rinsler. It might not, he might not be a name familiar to you, but he was an author who a lot of non-fiction, mostly making of film books, which I love. I've got an pretty extensive library of books about film, and he did some of the best. Probably the making of Star Wars. There's also an Empire Strikes Back volume and a Return of the Jedi volume. Absolutely fantastic. Probably the definitive books. If you're only going to buy one book on Star Wars, probably make it this one. He had access to the Lucasfilm archives, and the books just go from absolutely from day one, or before day one, from like Lucas coming up with the initial ideas, right up until the release of the movies on a day by day basis on the production. Absolutely fantastic. And also, then you've got this volume of Indiana Jones movies, which has all four of the current Indiana Jones movies in it as well. Again, probably just the most extensive coverage. Absolutely fantastically written. He also wrote the comic book adaptation of the Star Wars, which was George's original screenplay, when you've still got Anakin Starkiller and Han Solo is like an alien, and Chewie looks different, and it's all just the original weird sort of genesis of Star Wars. There was I think it was 8 issue adaptation that Dark Horse Comics did. I think it was one of the last things that Dark Horse did before the license went back to Marvel. And J.W. Rinsler wrote that. It's fantastic. You can get it collected in a graphic novel form. The artwork is gorgeous as well. Sad. He was only young, I think 58, and lost his battle with cancer, unfortunately. So I'll check out his books. They are absolutely fantastic. If you're a fan of film, I think he did the making of Aliens, Planet of the Apes. There's a whole spectrum of them, and they're all well worth checking out. So unfortunately, J.W. Rinsler passed away this week. On to the more news. It was announced this week that Taika Waititi, who obviously probably best known for directing Thor Ragnarok, What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Wilder People, just absolutely, the man can do no wrong in my eyes. Absolutely love him, and obviously he's got Thor: Love and Thunder coming out next year, which word is that it's just completely insane, and I'm really looking forward to that one. It was announced a while ago that he was doing an animated Flash Gordon movie, which sounded fantastic. It now looks like it's going to be done live action, and he's possibly lined up to direct it. He's written the script for it. I love it. I love Flash Gordon, the original serial comic strips of the old TV show, and obviously the early '80s Queen infused rock powered ludicrousness of the version starring Sam Jones, which, I mean, it's, let's not be around the bush. It's not a great film. It's tacky, it's campy, but it's so fantastically campy and over the top, that I love it. And obviously, say the soundtrack just absolutely makes it. Probably wouldn't be half as fondly remembered if it wasn't for Queen's bombastic stylings over the top. So hopefully, if Taika Waititi directs that as a live action, that would be one certainly to look forward to. When he's going to do it, I don't know. He seems to be the busiest man. Obviously, say Thor: Love and Thunder is wrapping up. He's got a Star Wars film to do. I think he was going to try and fit one of his smaller, more personal films like Jojo Rabbit in as well. And if he's going to do this as well, the live action Akira is on his plate. That's been talking around for years. If he ever gets around to that, so who knows? But so Flash Gordon will be coming to us at some point. Hopefully, with Taika Waititi in the director's chair. Also this week, they released the first shot from Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV series, and the release date September 2022. So just over a year to go on that one. It's set before The Hobbit, back in the old days of Middle Earth. So it's had a bit of a troubled production. It seems they've lost cast members. There's been some problems. So it'd be interesting to see that. Obviously, the still they've released looks very similar to the Peter Jackson movies. So I'm assuming they're possibly sticking with that style. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. He's put down a template for Middle Earth. I would go that way. So that's coming up as well. Also, the trailer for Why the Last Man hit. Absolutely looking forward to this one. Based on the comic books by, it was a Brian K. Vaughan and Pio Guerra. 60 issues collected in 10 volumes. I can't recommend this enough. And again, that's another TV show that's been in production. Had all sorts of problems. Originally it was going to be a movie years ago. Then it was a TV show. I think they even filmed a pilot because they released I remember them releasing a still from it years ago. And then I think there was a complete change of the showrunners left and they brought in other people. And now we finally got the series dropping, and it's dropping. It's only September 13th, so we haven't got long to wait now. They've sort of left it till the last minute to suddenly announce it. Essentially, just every man on the planet drops dead one day, except for this man Yorick and his pet capuchin monkey called Ampersand. They're the only two males, it would appear, left on the entire planet. He's then, I think it's been a while since I read it. He's part of it. He's going to try and track down his girlfriend, who I believe is in Australia. He's in America. She's in Australia. Obviously, the whole world's in chaos. So it's not just you can't just jump on a plane and go wherever you want. And obviously, he's now the only man. So obviously, he's of great interest to science. You've got Agent 355, I think she's known as, chasing him on behalf of the president. Absolutely fantastic. So love it. And yeah, check out the trailer. I'll put links to all the trailers in the description below as always. But yeah, that looks fantastic. It's coming to it's FX on Hulu in the States. So for the UK, I'm still not entirely sure what that means. Obviously, we used to have the FX channel. Some stuff would come to it, some stuff would go to Channel 4, and obviously now Hulu tends to be, obviously we've now got Star, the channel on Disney Plus, which I think most of the Hulu stuff goes there. So I don't know. Yeah, FX on Hulu in the States on the 13th of September. Here in the UK, not entirely sure, but I will definitely be checking that out. Hopefully it's not on one of the channels that I don't have. That would be really annoying. But hopefully, yeah, we'll get to see that one soon. Also, the trailer dropped for Cobra Kai Season 4, coming to Netflix in December. Cobra Kai, like the show that sort of shouldn't have been good, but is. Obviously, came out. The first season was it YouTube Red, wasn't it? Which nobody watched because nobody, hardly anyone had. But obviously, word of mouth said, this show is great. It's, yes, it's a worthy sequel to the original Karate Kid movie, but moves in a completely different direction. Sort of reimagines the whole thing. Yeah, and it is great. I would say that season 3 for me dipped a bit. This season appears that obviously looks like you're going to have the big tournament between Cobra Kai and the LaRusso dojo, or the Miyagi dojo, I think as it's called. Hopefully for me, have a big tournament and finish it. I don't know if they are doing another season afterwards, but I think it's probably just about run its course. If it gets stretched out too much, I think it could lose some impetus. Say season 3 for me dipped a little, still good, but it wasn't as good as the first 2 seasons. But yeah, that's coming in December. We also finally got sort of the Stranger Things season 4 trailer. What it most importantly tells us is it's not coming out till 2022, which is a shame. That it means I think that's 3 years. By the time it comes out, it'll have been 3 years since the last one. Yeah, the trailer is mostly made up of clips of the old show. And then has some sort of just some clips at the end. As I say, again, I'll drop a link in the description below, even. yeah, it's just got a few bits of new footage. It's going to be interesting to see because obviously, normally, if a show, if there's a gap of a few years, doesn't make much of a difference. But you're talking teenage kids who've obviously changed quite dramatically over the years. So if you consider it's going to be 3 years since the last season came out, they will have filmed that like the year before. So you're looking at sort of a 4 year age difference on teenage kids. So I don't know how much they managed to film before the pandemic. I know they were still filming earlier this year because one of them had mentioned that the guy that plays Dustin would mention that he was filming some scenes. So yeah, it's just a shame we've got to wait till next year for that one. But yes, I will say I'll check out the trailer. What else have we had? Oh, just to look at Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales is coming to Disney Plus on October the 1st. October the 1st, I think it is, yeah. In time for Halloween. I suspect that will be much like the holiday special they did last year. Sort of 25-minute animated comedy short, mostly focusing on the dark side, I would suspect. Yep. So the holiday special one was okay. It was quite funny in places. Like a lot of the Lego stuff is nothing truly exciting, but yeah, that's coming in October. And they also announced that Star Wars Bad Batch animated series is being renewed and will be coming out. Second season will be 2022 as well. Next week, I think, is the finale of season 1 of Bad Batch. And it's been an okay show. Some of the episodes are quite fillerish, and then some of them, particularly say the last episode was good. The episode before War Mantle was excellent. The Clone Wars and Rebels didn't really hit their stride until a few seasons in. Clone Wars, especially, a lot of the Clone Wars isn't massively good to begin with, and then the final seasons are fantastic. So yeah, hopefully Bad Batch will get better in its next season. The really good stuff is it shows the transition from clones to stormtroopers, and obviously the beginning of the rebellion, and obviously the rise, the establishment of the empire. That stuff's really good. There's a lot of sort of side mission episodes where the Bad Batch are doing bounty hunter mercenary work for people, which sort of slow it down a bit. If they concentrate on the actual sort of story, the main plot would be better. So hopefully, say going forward in the next season, there'll be more of that. What else have we got? Oh, don't forget Marvel's What If starts this Wednesday on Disney Plus, animated series, which just looks absolutely fantastic. Captain Carter looks to be a favorite with the big Hydra Stomper sort of mechanical suits. I think Steve Rogers has got, presumably, obviously, to keep up with the fact that he's now not. He's not had the super soldier serum, and Peggy has had it instead. Yeah, all sorts of good things there. They've said that's definitely got 2 seasons. I think possibly 9 episodes in each season. I think they mentioned. So yeah, that is starting this Wednesday. That looks fantastic. We'll have a look at that next week after we've seen the first episode. I think that's it for news. Oh no, actually, also they released Disney released the prices for the Galactic Cruiser. I mentioned it a few weeks ago. The hotel slash spaceship that you can stay in and pretend you're in the Star Wars universe, and then they'll take you out to Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars park, for part of the day. And it's almost like LARPing, like the live action role play. You stay in this hotel, but you can interact as much as you want. You do lightsaber training, and they've got I think it looks like probably like Kylo Ren and some First Order stormtroopers will board your ship at one point, and there will be obviously there's actors as obviously staff members working there. It looks of it, some done up in all prosthetic makeup and stuff to look like the aliens in the Star Wars universe, and you can interact and sort of play out being in a Star Wars adventure as much as you want. It does look fun if you're a Star Wars fan, but they've released say some new artwork and a trailer and stuff. But they released the prices, most importantly, and yeah, just ludicrous. It's basically like a 2-day thing. You'll be there. I think there's like an example itinerary on their website. You arrive like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So then you've got that evening. you've got the next whole day, although for half of that you go to Galaxy's Edge, and then the next day you basically get up, have breakfast, and you're gone by sort of like 9, half 9 in the morning. And that will set you back 2 people for 2 nights. It is roughly $5,000, $5,000. Just an insane amount of money. It includes food, but doesn't include alcohol, so you have to pay for that extra. There are other extra little bits on the website where it says, you can dining experiences and dine with the captain and interact, and some of that is extra as well. They encourage you to dress up if you want to, but obviously they don't include any of that, and they say, you can buy costumes on their website or in the store when you're there, so that's more expense. And then obviously like if you're in the UK, like me, obviously you've got to get to Florida first of all, so you've effectively got to pay for a 2-week holiday in Florida, and then this is like a $5,000 bolt on as well, just for sort of not even quite 48 hours in this Star Wars experience. So I mean, I've no doubts rich people will do it. Hardcore Star Wars fans will save up and do it. I'm sure it'll probably sell out. Obviously, there's only limited. I think there's about 100 cabins there. It does work out slightly cheaper if bigger groups of you go and you can get cabins that fit 8 people. But I mean, you're still looking at thousands each for the 2-day experience. So yeah, there's that. So I start saving. That opens spring 2022. Everything's happening in 2022. Now the world's getting back on track. So I'll be opening in Florida. Check it out if you've got a lot more money than I have. I'd love to go one day, but unless I win the lottery, really can't see that happening. So on to the Suicide Squad. Which I saw Monday. James Gunn's take on DC's group of all the bad guys that are cajoled into going on missions. Obviously, we had the original Suicide Squad movie years ago, which was not massively well received. Some people, I mean, it did make I want to say about $700 million dollars. It could be, I might have just made that figure up, but I want to say that sounds about accurate. So it wasn't a massive flop. But like all DC stuff, it comes out, it makes a bit of money, and then just goes, and the public don't really embrace it as much as they could. And it was, to me, it was all over the story. You can tell. I mean, again, much with the Snyder cut, they're now trying to get the David Ayer cut of that going, because apparently the studio took it off him and recut it loads, which you can sort of tell. It's just almost like a music video in places where, especially the introduction of the characters at the beginning, and they just heavily edited. The story wasn't great, but anyway, on to James Gunn's version, which is, I would argue, it probably has less story. It's a much better film, and it's much more fun. It's still not. I wouldn't. I think it may have suffered for me from. A lot of reviews, a lot of people have said it's the greatest sort of comic book movie ever made. And one of the poster quotes, I think, is it's James Gunn's magnum opus. And I wouldn't go that far. It's a really fun, enjoyable movie. It's quite slight. The story, you can argue, the story isn't even as involved as the original Suicide Squad story. It's literally they go on a mission. And unfortunately, the trailer gives away. It's one of those things. The trailer gives away a big. Sort of the big bad guy and a big chunk of the last part of the movie, which would have been far more effective had that not been shown in the trailer. There was also a lot. I did say to the friend of mine that I went with, I said some of the humor I thought fell flat. To which he pointed out probably that's because it was a lot of the gags, all the best gags were in the trailer, which is a real shame. It's a real sort of cinema sin. I don't know why they feel the need to do that. Okay. The trailer makes you look, makes you think, I really want to see that film. And after watching the Suicide Squad trailer, I really did think, I want to go and see that. Unfortunately, a lot of the best gags are there. It's good. There's some great misdirection at the beginning of the film. Won't go into too much spoilers, but Idris Elba, who usually for me, I think I've said before, though I really like him, I don't find his acting comes across very naturalistic some of the time. But I thought he was very good in this. It was quite surprising. He was probably my favourite character in it. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I know people love the fanboys love Harley. She's a sort of one-note character to me, and carries on being in this. There's a great scene fight scene with her, and it's beautiful. One thing about the film is it looks beautiful. James Gunn is a great visual director. Saying this fight scene where sort of flowers are just exploding behind her like randomly, very cartoonish. Looks really good. That is, yeah, there's a lot of that in the Suicide Squad. Lots of things visually happening that are great, and it's really bright and colourful. It's very comic booky. It's very violent, obviously. It's very violent, very gory, very lots of swearing. So it's certainly not one for kids. King Shark is effectively the Groot of the film. He's this sort of walking shark. CGI creation, obviously. Stallone does his voice. Yeah, he's very much the Groot. So I suppose there's you've got Ratcatcher 2, this woman who can control rats. She's got this rat Sebastian. He's fun. He's sort of like the Rocket, I suppose, but doesn't talk. He isn't sarcastic. So yeah, I say it's easy to compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy. I would still say for me that's my favorite James Gunn film. In that he takes a group of, it's very similarly structured. I suppose you've got a group of comic book characters who, if you're not a massive comic book nerd, you have never heard of before, but by the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, you really care for these characters, and obviously where Groot sacrificed himself to save everyone, and it's very emotional, very sad. Suicide Squad does the same thing. Again, it's a group of characters. Gunn's deliberately taken these like real Z-lister bad guys from the DC comics, really some real deep cuts, and has brought them together. And it is good and it's fun. For me, it still doesn't reach the emotional highs of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not. I suppose it's not that sort of uplifting film, and it may be because they are all bad guys. They're not heroes. They're sort of a bunch of arseholes that have been put together. And obviously, spoilers. It obviously called Suicide Squad. They don't all come out of it alive. But for me, it's strange because I've read some reviews where a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, I cried 3 or 4 times in the film. It's got real emotional heart," which you'd expect from James Gunn. But for me, it didn't. It didn't have. It didn't have as much of that emotional. Let's say something like Guardians of the Galaxy. Ratcatcher 2 is probably her relationship and a bit with Polka Dot Man, who was probably my favourite. He's just a ludicrous villain that throws polka dots at people. But it sounds ludicrous, but it's actually a really cool power. But it's underused as well for me. It does get. I found some of the pacing is a bit strange. It does slow down and sort of get bogged down in places. It's not continually. When the action's going, it is ludicrous and throwing blood at the screen. Every which way, and it is a lot of fun. And obviously, James Gunn, it's got a fantastic soundtrack. He does that all the time. Lots of songs used, sort of very Tarantino-ish. Obviously, you can't imagine he sits there going through his record collection before he makes a movie and saying, "Well, I'm going to use that and that and that." So it's a really good fun film, and I'd recommend it. It just isn't for me. It's not as good as some people are saying. And whether that's down to the fact that I'm not a massive fan of what DC has been doing, but then to be honest, if it doesn't really feel like a DC film. There's a throwaway line where it mentions the Idris Elba's character put Superman in hospital with a kryptonite bullet, and it almost feels like that line thrown in just to remind audiences, oh, by the way, this is a DC movie, because that was really, apart from that, I'd say Harley is really the only recognizable character to a lot of people, and obviously Batman isn't referenced, Joker isn't really referenced either, so she could just be anyone really. So yeah, it's a great fun film. It's stupidly violent. If you're a fan of James Gunn, it's got his signature all over it. It's fun. It's not the best comic book movie of all time, I wouldn't have said, which some people are calling it. But yeah, had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, go and check that out if that sounds your thing. That's it for me this week. As I said before, if you can hit like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. I will see you all next week. Take care. Until then, eat geek and be merry.